Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Oh, wonderful Minnesotans, quiet, reserved, and present and alert. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Let's try it churchy. The Lord be with you. And also with you. Man, it never gets old being able to do a call and response. Well, hello, welcome. I'm Kirkland. I'm one of the pastors here at Christ United Methodist Church, which is a reconciling congregation in the Minnesota Conference, and we are so grateful to have this opportunity not only host the Minnesota Reconciling Congregations, but to also be able to spend the day with MedCIty REFUGE and Pastor Anna, who's going to share more about this incredible program and effort and labor of love and important work in our community. I just want to offer some housekeeping and kind of building awareness things. First, hopefully our team of hospitality and greeters have helped you find your way around the building, get some refreshments, which have been prepared and offered for you. There's also restrooms. If you go out the ECC, make an immediate right kind of around the hallway, you'll find restrooms there for all genders as well at the very end of the hallway and accessible as well. And then we just want to share with you that there's baskets at either entrance of this room we call the ECC, where you can make a donation today for MedCity Refuge. 100% of what you would offer today will go to MedCity Refuge, and we will make sure at the church that is turned around quickly so that they can put it to use immediately. And then lastly, I just want to share with you that here at Christ UMC, we believe we're called to be grace in the city of Rochester. So we are thrilled to host you and welcome you if you've traveled your way into Rochester. You're in what we call the Education Conference Center, which is a room that was built about 30 years ago, intentionally for conversations like we're having today, where people can gather from everywhere and anywhere to learn and to dialogue and to be in each other's company for really good purposes. So we're grateful to share this space with you. It was always intended to be for community and dialogue first and worship second. So thank you, Minnesota Reconciling Congregations, for making that vision and mission possible again in this space. And thank you, Pastor Anna, for sharing your wisdom and insight and vision with us, even as you are recovering from not feeling at 100%. Can we all give a round of applause and appreciation for Pastor Anna?
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, good. So I am Reverend Anna Wilson. I am a board-certified chaplain. I am also a fellow in thanatology, which is the study of death, dying, and bereavement. That's all my professional stuff. But I am also the visionary and founder of MedCity Refuge. And so I have this presentation today. I'm grateful for all of you, whether you're virtual or in person, for being present. And hopefully we can have some good information gathering and provision of you knowing what MedCity Refuge is all about. There we go. For those who are online, if you have questions, please send them to this email address that is that's on this screen. I'll leave that up there for a couple minutes, or not a couple minutes, but a little bit. Hopefully people can get that. And then it'll also be on one of the last slides. So there's that. Okay. Maybe? There we go. So how exactly did MedCity Refuge get started? I woke up from a dream, literally. I woke up from a dream on a Monday or on a Tuesday morning, and that dream had me doing construction on a church. People were coming to me to answer questions, like decision-making questions and that type of thing. And I thought, well, that's weird, but as ministers, we're always building the church, right? And so I didn't think anything about it. Later that day, I was in Austin, Minnesota, and I was visiting with a colleague, and she said, a friend of mine just sent me this listing of a house that has a church on the property. And I just went, really? That's kind of weird. Here's the dream I just woke up from, and now you're telling me this. And so I wound up, I thought, well, I'm going to drive by, check this place out. And it was a huge church. I mean, not as big as Christ UMC, but it was a pretty big church. And I was thinking, wow, okay. But as I was driving there, I had this vision of creating a safe space for those who were seeking reproductive and gender-affirming care. Because Roe had just been collapsed. Our transgender, intersex, gender diverse folks were struggling. And I thought, we just need someplace safe that people can land when they come for these services. And so that was the vision on the way to this church, to this property. And I went, there was no one there, so I walked around, I looked in windows. I was a true creeper, to be honest. And I did all that kind of stuff, and then I drove home, and I told my spouse everything that had transpired, from the dream I woke up to this listing, to me walking around the property. And he said, yeah, contact the realtor, we'll sell our place, and we'll move out there, and we'll make this happen. I have a really great spouse. I just want to say that. And so that's where it started. Long story short, it wound up being like a 2-week thing. The people who own the house with the church on the property had changed the church to a shed for tax purposes. And the county would not guarantee that they would let it come back to being a church. And so that kind of, knocked that out of the water. However, in the meantime, I've been talking to people, and people started saying, yes, we need to do this. We need to make this happen. And so here we have MedCity Refuge. Our first meeting was September 16th of 2023. We had our board by November of 2023. We had articles of incorporation and bylaws by February of 2024. And they told us it would be upwards of 18 months before we actually got our 501c3. We turned that in the beginning of April, and in 3 weeks we had our 501c3. Wow. So this 18 months that we were supposed to have to develop policy and create a program and figure out how we were actually going to do this just kind of went away. And so we worked really hard on one policy. We have one policy, y'all, and that is our hotel subsidy policy, and that is providing a subsidy for those seeking gender-affirming care. They're coming to Rochester, Minnesota. We partner with Centerstone, where Twigs is. Y'all know where that hotel is. They give us a very lovely rate for our people coming in. You've heard of the major hospital rate that would be in this community. Ours is a bit better. And then we provide up to 10 nights at $75 per night subsidy. Now that does not cover everything, but it is a good chunk. And so that's kind of where we are. Let's see. Okay, so in our ultimate vision, or our next step, is to really work on the policy of creating refuge homes. Those are homes that have that spare bedroom that you're willing to share with somebody coming in. But that takes a lot more legal aspect of things, because we want to keep people's homes safe for them and the ones going into the home safe. So that means things like doing background checks. With the hotel, we don't have to do background checks, but we will for refuge homes. So that might be partnering with some of the churches that are out there that do the background checks, because y'all do background checks on the people who are working with kids. So maybe there's a way for us to partner to, we'll pay the fee, but y'all already have the thing in place. So those are some of the things we're looking at. The other thing we're looking at doing is creating, eventually, the big dream, the ultimate dream, is like a Ronald McDonald house or a transplant house that has the individual living quarters with communal kitchen and communal living space where we can have support groups and those types of things. That's the ultimate dream, the ultimate goal. But every place has to start small, right? We can't do everything all at once. And that's really hard for someone who envisions something but doesn't understand all the details. I am not a detail person. That is not my forte. That's why I'm so grateful for a board who says, wait a minute, Anna, you got to stop. We got to think through this. Because for me, I'm like, let's jump in, let's get going. So the board has been a good stabilizer to my crazy. Let's just put it that way. Before we continue, does anyone know who this person is? I think I heard it over here. Oh, nope. Marsha P. Johnson. She was a trans woman, big in the LGBTQ rights and support in the 1960s. Anyone know who this person is on the right? I'm not a doctor, I can't do this. So on the right. I don't know her last name, I probably should have looked it up. Erin in the morning. She does a lot of research and discovering what's going on in legislation against the trans community. So like I said, we do provide the temporary subsidies for temporary lodging. We also are looking at creating a resource form that has information on where can they go for a haircut that's not going to be cruel or ugly, a place that's safe. What if their dog gets sick while they're here? What vet is going to be safe for them? What churches can they go to that will be safe for them? Because we know that there's a lot of spiritual trauma for this population. And so we want a church that is out loud and proud, like Christ UMC is, like Peace UCC is, like the UU Church is. And I'm sure there's others in the community, but those are some that I know of off the top of my head. And then the other thing we want to do is create opportunities to gather as community, to be present with each other. We know that in times such as this, that we must build community. That being isolated only helps the oppressor, right? And so we must build community. And so we want to do some of those things like having game nights periodically, having Friendsgiving, gathering for a picnic in a local park. Maybe not right now. That might be next summer. But those are some of the things that we do want to do. We're even talking about potentially having a gala or a ball, prom next year. But that takes a lot of time and energy and people who have those detail aspects of them that I do not have. So, does anyone know who this person is? They are Alec Vade Menon, and they do a lot of transgender activism. Okay. So what exactly is gender-affirming care? Gender-affirming care is literally providing what a person needs. I mean, has anyone in here ever had birth control? That's gender-affirming care. Have you ever had to have hormone replacements therapy? That's gender-affirming care. Have you ever had to have testosterone? Okay, none of the men are raising their hand. But that is gender-affirming care. Have you ever had to go and have a gynecological exam? That's gender-affirming care. How about prostate exams? That's gender-affirming care. You know, all these different things are gender-affirming care, but that word is being weaponized against this population. And that's not right, and it's not healthy for them or for us in general. So what we use in the medical world, no, I'm not a doctor, I'll say that. I'm not a doctor, I work in hospitals, but I'm not a doctor. But they use WPATH, which is the World Professional Association of transgender health. That link right there has all the information on what gender-affirming care looks like and what is needed. But since children and teens seem to be the big hot topic right now, I thought we would address that just a little bit. And Judy has been so kind to say that she would help me out with this because she's actually a nurse where I am not. So, Judy, do you have anything that you want to say specifically, or?
Well, I think first of all, whether you're talking about a child, an adolescent, or an adult, each person's path through gender-affirming care is unique because it's something where, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and, what is needed varies from person to person depending on what they're looking to achieve. And so let me see here. I've got a few notes. One of the things that when looking at providing gender-affirming care for children and adolescents before they start in receiving any medical care, they should undergo a comprehensive biopsychosocial assessment before they start the care, and that's generally going to be with a mental health professional. And parents should be involved unless it's going to be harmful to the child. And with children, I think we all know how children, they try on genders very regularly as a part of their growing up process. So if you have a child where their gender expression doesn't reflect their gender exterior, don't assume right away that this is going to be a transgender child. It may just be a stage that child is going through. And so to make use of professionals who have experience in gender-affirming care to help determine where this child is. And as finally, too, with the care, I don't know how many of you are familiar with conversion therapy, where that is for whether it is someone who feels that their body is not the same as what their mind is, or their sexual orientation is not heterosexual, somebody trying to change them, and it's usually being done in the name of religion. And it's, conversion therapy is harmful, should never be done. Do you want me, should I talk some about what social, so it's kind of like for gender-affirming care, it's divided into social, medical, and surgical. And what somebody uses and in what order varies from individual to individual. So with social, it's when someone starts in presenting differently, dressing differently, using a different name and pronouns, those types of things. And it can be something where an individual may do that consistently once they start in making social transition, or it may be something where in some settings they present as one gender, and in other settings they feel they have to present as the other. And social transition is not required prior to having medical or surgical care. And practices such as chest binding or chest padding and genital tucking or genital packing are reversible, they're non-medical, and they may help to alleviate distress that individuals feel with their chest and genital anatomy. And again, social transition is something, whether it's a child who's 5 years old, or it's someone who's 20, or somebody who is 75. Any of those can go through the social transition. And then for medical, it starts out with the hormone therapy. And to achieve feminizing characteristics, it's generally estrogen and testosterone blocker. and to achieve masculinization, it's testosterone. And one of the things that I have learned both from my reading and also, a whole variety of trans folks that I know, is testosterone is much more effective in achieving the desired physical changes than what the estrogen is. And then for adolescents or children, using the puberty blockers, so that if you have a young person and they need to be just starting into puberty, then they can be prescribed the puberty blocker, which stops that puberty process. So if you have a boy who knows that he is female, if he is able to get on the puberty blockers, that's going to keep him from developing the lowered voice, which is very difficult to change, and also from testicular development. And if it's the other direction, going on puberty blockers will prevent beginning to menstruate. And I had a friend who is a trans man, and there were times when he would be hospitalized and he'd be taken off of his medications. He was like, and then I started menstruating right away. And that's just, one of those things that, talk about gender dysphoria. And generally, the doing hormones for adolescents, it's generally not been started until 16 years of age, but they are finding some evidence that starting as early as 14 years of age can be beneficial. And then finally, you get into surgical interventions. And with surgery, it may involve the face, the chest, and the genitals. And for adolescents, because of the complexity of the procedures, they generally don't recommend doing surgery prior to 18 years. So, the things that we've heard on radio and TV where it's, this child went to school one day as a boy and came home as a girl. It's like, excuse me, this is not going to happen. And I guess, kind of some final thoughts is each person's gender confirmation process is unique, and never ask a person if they are trans, and never ask a person what steps they are taking in their gender affirmation journey.
Thanks, Judy. Thank you, Judy. So yeah, again, children are not getting surgery. Surgeries don't happen until 18 or later, period, end of story. They can't even get a Tylenol at school, much less anything else. Okay? So just so you know that. And then also the puberty blockers that they do start giving more in the adolescents, see, they don't even do it for children. It's adolescents that starts to have the puberty blockers. Those are reversible. And honestly, those puberty blockers are also used for kids who have precocious puberty. If you've ever heard that word, that means kids who develop way too early. I was 8. This is my body at age 8, plus a few pounds. But I should not have looked like this at age 8. I looked like a grown woman because I physically was a grown woman, just not mentally. Okay? There's strict standards of what everyone gets. Okay? When we're talking about what's been happening in our country, this is what's happened in recent months, just in Minnesota alone. We went from 28 bills working their way through the legislature to 33 bills now, working their way through the legislature. Those bills are focused on sports, performance, education, child custody, healthcare, and incarceration. When we talk about sports, there was, I can't remember where I saw it, but Utah paid $9 million to fight against transgender children in sports, and there were 3 in the entire state. What else could that $9 million have gone to? Food support, housing, exactly. All the things that kids and families need, which would be more pro-life, yes. Yep. Yes, anti-trans bills. Yes, yeah. I am talking only the anti-trans because that's where we're seeing the most damage being done. Yep. So anyone know who the person with the purple hair is? There you go. Yes. She's amazing. She does videos and teaches you how to fix your toilet and build this and do that and all that. So yes, she's fabulous. And she has a book. You're right. So nationally, as in 2025, as of August of this year, there were 1,500 bills against the trans community in 49 different states. Can anyone guess which state is not one of those? No, we've got 33. I just said that. Yeah, I wish it was us. No. No. Vermont. Did you say Vermont?
Yeah, I initially guessed Vermont.
Good for you. So, so there's 122 newly passed laws this year so far. 501 are still active. 382 have failed. Thank God. But these are all those bills that you hear about, bathroom bills, everything. Yeah.
How many bills does Minnesota have enacted that are anti?
I did not look that up. So if you want to know more about trans legislation, there's that link there. And who knows who this person is? Nobody. Okay. This is Chase Strangio. They are an attorney and a gender rights activist. Okay, early 2025, this was the map of anti-trans legislation. This was 2025, early. Look for the difference between early 2025 and August. Do you see the difference yet? Maine went from being one of the most safe states to less safe because they cowered, their universities cowered to transgender support. The states that have black lines through them, Texas and Florida, those are do not travel states for these individuals. That's how bad the laws are in those areas. Here's the youth map, early 2025. I would assume that y'all will be shocked by the next one. Look at all that blue that was down the West Coast. And now. If you look on the East Coast, New York, Vermont, Connecticut, New York, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania are now less safe. It's devastating, isn't it? And I get these maps from Aaron in the morning. Aaron Reed, thank you. Aaron Reed. So in 2025, January 2025, there was an executive order signed revoking President Biden's executive order allowing openly transgender folks to serve in the military, thus banning transgender military members. In early February, the White House government started having the T removed from the LGBTQIA+. And in February 26, Department of Defense, which is now Department of War, issued a ban against transgender military. May 6th, granted a pause. SCOTUS granted a pause while the government appeals in the Ninth Circuit. And then yesterday, a new policy put in place that troops must appear in uniform congruent with their sex assigned at birth. Think about that, folks. Do you know how many different intersex people there are? They estimate between 30 and 40 different variations of intersex. So just looking at someone's genitalia does not tell you who they are. So in 2021, there were 153 bills going through the legislatures across the US. 18 of them passed. And in 2025, we're at 1,500 that are going through, with 122 passed so far. Look at that difference. I did a search when I found out that they had gotten rid of all the transgender stuff on the White House page. Now it comes up, I kept this slide just so that y'all could see that it was what it was. But now they have other things that have nothing to do with LGBTQIA that pop up now. This was a search on USA.gov. So, Kirkland, are you able to do that video for me? It would start at the 39th minute about.
When a person is
I'm used to doing it from my computer. Perfect.
Let's try that again.
When I first came out as, the word has disappeared from the world, or it has never existed, not in any sponsored way at least. But I was 12 years old when I first looked in the mirror and was confused about my overall goal. Sure, I'd grow up, go to college, get a house, but what am I actively trying to do here? There's clothes, there's language, there's hair, but what am I actively trying to do here? He, she, species. I hear it on the bus on my way back from 4th grade, maybe 5th. It takes me a day or so to reckon with what it means. It means I am a different species. I am evolved past you. The controversy at my old school. I had always been aware that I'm hated overall, just in general, by some unseen force localized to our nation. But then it was in a board meeting for my school. The board members stared me down and imagined me trying to join sports. I can't imagine myself joining any sports if I'm honest. And I sat there with a glittery sign, glitter sprinkling off on my arms. It wouldn't wash out after just a shower. I think I still find it at the bottom of my bags. It wouldn't wash out after just a shower. Hello, sociology class at the new school. This is my presentation of dominant narratives, where I ask, what is the dominant narrative of Americans? dominant narrative tells you how people think of a certain group. Everyone applauded at the end of my presentation. God blessed me by making me for the same reason he made wheat but not bread, and fruit but not wine, so that humanity might share in the act of creation. Creation is not something I am doing, but something I am. I am my own Frankenstein's monster. Mary Shelley, my goddess, blesses me up on high. I think that taking something away can be creating something new. I think that taking something away can be creating something new. I made sure to mention the fact that I'm from a rural area for my college essay. Walgreens doesn't have everything I need for the 40th time. They asked me to come back tomorrow, once again. It says in their files that I need testosterone, and yes, also needles. You can't do much with it without the needles, actually. When I renewed my passport, all I had to do was ask about the marker, and they changed it. But we haven't had a convenient time to change my name yet. So do I even exist on paperwork? Could I swing that I am not me? Is it possible to hide anymore? Could I swing that I am not me? My short story is a twist on the Cinderella story, except he's, she's. I always write about it. So if it's not in paperwork, then at least it'll be in my work. And if it's not in someone else's hands that I exist, then I will hold it myself. And not only do I always write about it, I always talk about it. My friends and my teachers clap, encourage, and comment on the scraps of art I've made based on my identity. How soon will I need to worry that that is going away? LGB travel information. Social security for LGBTQ people. Resources for LGB prospective adoptive parents, etc., etc. I have never been here, and you did not hear this poem. Lesbians are lesbians, gays are gays, bisexuals are bisexuals, and you did not hear this poem. I did not say anything that I wasn't supposed to.
Thanks, Kirkland. So this community is being erased. They are being erased in ways that are not kind and gentle and loving, not made of the Creator that we follow. And it's heartbreaking to see all the ways that this community is being vilified. There's some other links there, but basically those are the links that I pulled up based on the video that this kiddo showed. So some of our transgender, non-conforming folks. We have Marsha P. Johnson, who was an activist from 1960. She died in 1992. Jonathan Van Ness, who knows about them? Woohoo! Queer Eye. They're a hairstylist and podcaster, writer, and more. And then Laverne Cox is an actress and activist. Her recent show is Clean Slate, about being transgender in an Alabama town, if I remember correctly. I loved the first season, and Prime is not redoing it. It was well received, but Prime has decided to bow. So, what does MedCity Refuge need? We need your support. Whether it's your time, your talents, or your treasures, we need it all. We have more people who are coming to Rochester, Minnesota to receive that gender-affirming care because there is a big hospital here who provides that kind of care. At this point, we do not specifically work with children, but we know of other resources that are in the community that can work with the children as far as lodging goes. We just didn't want to kind of be wiped out too soon, since we don't have the legal backing yet for ourselves. So what else? We also getting the word out, telling people about MedCity Refuge, letting people know outside of the state, within the state, hey, we're here. We want to help where we can. So far to date, we have helped 6 individuals and 1 2 times. So 7 different stays so far. We've got 2 more that are in the hopper. We're just waiting for their appointments. And so that'll be another 2 more so far. There was a lull at the beginning of the year because everyone was afraid. And now that they are seeing what's happening or what can be, where they can be safe or as safe as possible, we're starting to see an influx in support needed. Your talents. From website design, which we do have our website, but policy writing. I've already told you I'm not a detail person. So if you are a detail person, if you know how to write policies, we could always use some extra help with that. Marketing and grant writing, those are areas that we need as well. One thing I learned being a new nonprofit is that with grant writing, you really can't write for grants until you have some proven programming under your belt. So now we have some proven programming under our belt, so we can start writing. That said, we also are trying to be very selective of where we would apply. No federal grants, no state grants, because we want to fly under the radar with this regime right now. And so there's that. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, we did drop reproductive care just because there's a lot of resources for those seeking reproductive care, but there wasn't as many resources for those seeking gender-affirming care. That said, we kept the color green because that's a nod to reproductive care. So green is our color. The Northern Lights is kind of our way of knowing that everyone changes and everyone's fluid and flexible and everyone shines. And so green is our color. And then, of course, your treasures keep MCR going. However you are able to support us, we would be very grateful. And then our transgender and non-binary siblings are being erased by laws, government, and other entities. Through your nurturing and assistance, we can help these people feel valued, supported, and loved for exactly how the Holy created them. So thank you for joining me today, for the ways in which you have been supportive already. And I open us up to questions. Oh, awesome. Jenny's getting her workout in.
So just a question for you, Pastor Anna. On your website, do you have a list, not just in Rochester, but within southern Minnesota, of open and affirming congregations that people could have that resource where they could go to, not necessarily just the transgender individual, but their family members as well, who are allies to that community, because they could face the same attack as the transgender person themselves?
Yep. At this point, we don't have that resource list up and on our website. We are working on it, and that's one of our next steps, is to get a resource list that would include churches and vets and hair appointments and all those things.
For those of us who aren't in the Rochester community, what kinds of things can we do in our own communities to, whether it's helping people who are traveling here, because we know that there are many people who are relocating to Minnesota in order to get care, or just, being supportive advocates.
I think the big thing is helping them where they are, providing, your care and your concern, letting them know that you're a safe space to be present. That's not to say that we're not going to make mistakes. I still make mistakes, and I've been doing this work since seminary, technically, and I still make mistakes. So when you make the mistake, okay, I'm going down a rabbit hole, sorry. So some people have a hard time with the pronouns. My pronouns are she, her. And sometimes I've messed up and I said he, him, she, her, whatever the situation is, and I've been wrong. And there's two schools of thought. Some people say sorry and move on real quick. Others say don't say sorry at all, say thank you and move on. Change the pronoun and move on. I personally do the thank you, change the pronoun and move on, because by saying sorry, you're forcing that person to tell you that it's okay that you messed up, and it's not. So I personally do the thank you, he said, ... okay? But there are other things that people are going to need when they come to your communities. They're going to need a safe church. They're going to need those resources that are in the community, and there's an LGBTQ program through the state. Jay, do you remember what it is? I can't remember. There's Outfront Minnesota, but the state itself has started doing a resource list and doing a survey of the community. Is it on Outfront? Okay. So know the resources that are available. Outfront Minnesota, Pink Haven. Yeah, and there's also up in the cities area, there's, is it Family Life or Tree Life? Family Tree Clinic. They are an open and affirming clinic for gender affirming care. So know what's in your communities.
There's also Red Door in St. Paul, I think it's called.
What is it?
Red Door Clinic.
Red Door Clinic in St. Paul? Okay. Thank you.
I have one other thing that I'd like to share. We have numerous friends and acquaintances who are trans. And one of the things that I have struggled with is when I'm talking about the individual pre-transition and coming out. And it's like, okay, do I use their birth name and gender? Do I use what their current one is? And so a couple days ago, I emailed Ellie Krug, and I don't know how many of you know Ellie, but she has written a couple of books on being trans. And I said, so, what do I do? And Ellie said, use their current name and pronoun, because that is who they have always been. So it's like, oh, thank you, because like I said, I've struggled with how
Right.
to refer.
Thank you.
I have that Minnesota Council, I know what it is. It's called Minnesota Council on LGBTQIA 2S plus Minnesota.
Okay.
It's on the
mn.gov
MN.gov website.
website. Thank you.
Council, yeah, that's what it's called.
Okay. And does everyone know what all the letters stand for? Do what?
There was a no. They said
Oh, okay, there's a no, okay. So, LGBTQIA 2+, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex, asexual, two-spirited, and plus. A Q is queer. And then 2+. 2+ is for our Native Indigenous community. They are, before colonization, they were highly revered, and they were kind of declared a full person because they had both male and female attributes. So they were completely full as a person, and these individuals were many times your chiefs of the tribe. And so they were highly revered. So 2 pluses for your indigenous folks. Jade? Oh, thank you. That's a new one for me. Okay. So the queer community would ask that we would put the 2 plus before everyone else because they were here first. Yes?
Hold on. We want to make sure that people online can hear you too.
So, how would you identify somebody that is born with both genitalia? Because that is a birth defect in some cases.
I don't know that it's our job to do that. It's between them and their doctor.
Like under the LGBTQI.
That's how they would identify themselves. Okay. We don't identify people. What other questions or thoughts? Yeah. Kirkland, are there any online yet?
I haven't seen any. Have you been?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify what Judy, you said about not asking anyone if they're trans. Could you elaborate a little bit on why that? You had 2 points at the end that I wanted you to elaborate on just a bit.
Well, asking somebody if they are trans is essentially outing them. And whether it is an individual who is born male and identifies as male, but has some feminine characteristics, that doesn't matter. And if it is a person who is trans and going through the transition process, it's one of those things you just don't do. And as far as asking about, have you had top surgery or are you on hormones? Those are very personal questions. And, we don't ask people that about other topics. And so it's, if they choose to share information with you, that's fine, but you don't ask.
Right. There's a thing in chaplaincy, we talk about a ministry of curiosity. But a ministry of curiosity is caring about the person where when you ask people things like, well, have you had this surgery? Have you done this? Are you going to do this? That's more voyeuristic than a ministry of curiosity. A ministry of curiosity is more like, well, how can I support you? What can I do to provide the safe space that you need right now? And so I think that's really important that we not ask those questions, if they volunteer, that's fine. But then if they do volunteer, we keep it confidential because they trusted you. So keep that between you and them.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
Thank you so much for presenting today.
Yeah, thanks.
My question is, earlier you said that those in the military are required to wear a uniform that matches their gender assigned at birth. And I'm wondering, have we considered maybe stop assigning gender at birth as an option?
That's a great question. I think that would be a medical question, and I wish that I knew the answer. I would think, Judy, do you have any clue on that? I think we're still doing male and female, even for those who look intersex. I think unfortunately, we still have kind of dated. What's the point? Yeah, I know that there are parents who are actually starting to say, no one's going to be changing their diaper. It's only going to be me because I want them to be who they want to be. And so I think you're right. I think we need to get past this male and female in the binary. Let kids be kids. Jay?
If you're ever presented with that question, you don't have to answer it. Or you could write something in. When I go to the male clinic, I identify as female. I have from birth, but I don't answer that question. And I guess the reason I don't is because I feel like I'm in solidarity with my brothers and sisters and all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the big thing is at the birth side of things, though, because it's going to be on birth certificates and all that kind of stuff. And so how do we navigate that and hopefully try to change those things? I mean, y'all, I'm out there. I'm loud. I'm proud. I'm a huge advocate and have been for decades, literally. But my daughter had a gender reveal party this summer, you know? And it's like, come on, kid, did you not learn anything from me? But I mean, she's also in a more conservative family with her significant other. And so gender reveal is what was important for them. So I'm afraid that we're just going to be dealing with gender stuff for a long time because it's so ingrained in who we are. And also just a reminder that we say sex assigned at birth because sex and gender are two different things. Sex is a construct. Sex is a physical attribute. Gender is a construct. What other questions, thoughts, or wonderings do we have?
You talked a little bit about housing, using hotels, and I know a number of different churches have some type of a home, an apartment, or something like that. I know there's one in the building I live in. And I'm wondering, is that the type of arrangement that could work or not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if the church is willing to donate the space or go from there, that would be fabulous and very helpful. I think it's trying to navigate when people are coming in, when they have people already there, and all those types of things. And I think if maybe we could find a way to build that resource list of all the churches that have these spaces that are willing to share with our gender diverse folks, and that they would be safe spaces for them. I would love to collaborate on something like that.
Keep that one.
Okay.
So I know there's a number of churches that have like shower facilities, you know, along with, you know, like commercialized kitchen and stuff like that. Kind of like what Family Promise did before they bought or are in their current facility. They went from church to church, you know, that ones that had shower facilities and commercialized kitchen. Would that be kind of an idea to kind of do the same type of model for those families, is to partner with those, like have a network of churches that have the shower facilities and set up like air mattresses or you know, foam beds or something like that in a designated classroom that could be used as like a, you know, sleeping quarters or something?
That could be a possibility. I think that there's some logistics that need to be figured out, such as how do they get in and out of the building. I wouldn't want people who just had surgery to be moving from church to church to church. And how do we keep the place as sterile as possible for them? And so those are all things for us to consider. But I think there's maybe some talking space there. Other questions, thoughts, or wonderings?
How many members are on your board?
Currently, we have 8 members on our board, and we will have our next board meeting November 11th, right here at Christ United Methodist Church. That's one of the blessings of CUMC, is that they have been so supportive of us from day one. I talked with Pastor Jenny and Pastor Kirkland, and they're like, absolutely, we will help. And so they have opened up space here for us to meet monthly for our board meetings, and I'm very grateful for them and all the support that they have given over these last little over 2 years.
So you said that the city wouldn't necessarily let you make a church out of the church that was on the property. What did you do with that? With the church building that's on the property?
So we didn't move forward. We didn't purchase it. Yeah, they were not going to guarantee that it could go into being a church again. And then actually when it came down to it, it wound up being that it was too close to the road, so we couldn't have had living accommodations in it. So it all worked out for the best. It's just, it was part of the vision that got us to where we are today. Any other questions? I am so grateful for all of you who have taken time today on a Saturday in the middle of the afternoon to come and spend with me. And Jade is also a member of our board, and grateful that y'all took this time. Grateful for Judy and Deb and the Reconciling Ministries of the Methodist Church for bringing us in, as well as Pastor Jenny and Pastor Kirkland for their continued support and care. So thank you all. Oh, there's another question. Oh, there's lots of cookies left. Yes. So please help yourself to cookies. We're here to talk. If you have questions or would like some more information, we're happy to visit with you. Again, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
There's also offering baskets at the top. Just if you would like to make a donation in a physical way today, you can do that using those baskets at the tables.